the infinite flow world that everyone offers. But a 3-year-old toddler treats it as a playground. Not only does the fallen angel serve as his kite, but there's also a terrifying clown teaching him to wave his hands like flowers. The gruesome slit-mouthed woman teaches him to sing. Behind him, group of bosses are scrambling to change his diapers, all because these seemingly horrifying monsters are actually the boy's closest family. And at this moment, Luo Jin, who has just transmigrated into a little glutinous rice ball, slightly furrows his brows, as if facing an enormous challenge. Damn it, I've already reached the last test paper. Can I still go back? The college entrance exam is in just 1 week. Suddenly, heavy footsteps sound. A terrifying, oppressive aura that makes one's heart race, causing Luo Jin's entire body to tremble. He can't catch his breath. The giant, walking toward him, sensitively catches the rapid breathing below, looks down in confusion, and just happens to see Luo Jin, trembling like a leaf, at his feet. Meeting those enormous, red lantern-like eyes, Luo Jin's eyes widen in shock. Finally, his eyes close, and he completely loses consciousness. Teng Ruo, watching the little one tremble for a while before falling asleep, scratches his head in slight confusion. After an unknown amount of time, in his unconscious state, Luo Jin hears a clamor of voices. It's an ordinary human. Seems to have a fever. Teng Ruo, where did you pick this up? Mu Yue, be gentler. The clamorous noise made Luo Jin's small brows furrow. A dissatisfied whimper escaped from his throat. The faint whimpering sound caused the surrounding chatter to instantly cease. After a long while, a deliberately hushed voice spoke up. Look, he's frowning. Is this little thing about to wake up? Tsk. Kids are such a hassle. Who exactly is speaking? Luo Jin opened his eyes, but his lively pupils, after clearly seeing the 3 people before him, instantly turned, astonished. Closest to him was a teenager sitting in a wheelchair. His face was painted like a clown with grease paint. The dark pigment seemed to seep into his skin, ferocious and terrifying. Seeing that Luo Jin was frightened by his appearance, the clown slightly furrowed his brows and turned his face to the side. Before Luo Jin could collect himself, a figure stepped forward. Compared to the frightening clown, Mu Yue seemed much more human. He wore a neat, tidy black suit. His ear-short hair was neat and sharp. The only oddity was the black face mask he wore. Noticing Luo Jin looking his way, Mu Yue's eyes curved. Then he reached out a hand, intending to feel Luo Jin's forehead. Luo Jin tilted his head, avoiding the other. Mu Yue's hand paused mid-air. His face still maintained that expression with curved eyes, yet he still did not speak. Although Luo Jin was somewhat puzzled, out of caution, he did not speak either. The 2 people, one big and one small, stared at each other like this for a long time. Mu Yue's throat had some problems, so he didn't speak much. A deep voice broke the deadlock. Luo Jin looked towards the direction the voice came from. Under the bright light, the huge bullhead didn't look as terrifying as before. The other party waved at Luo Jin, offering an explanation for Mu Yue's silence. Luo Jin withdrew his gaze, hanging his head, not knowing what he was thinking. When Mu Yue's hand reached over again, he did not avoid it anymore. The slightly cool palm pressed against his forehead, making Luo Jin shiver. Mu Yue frowned slightly, took out his phone from his pocket, typed a few lines on the screen, then handed it in front of Luo Jin's eyes. How did you end up in the burial earth? It looks like you've caught a cold. The fever still hasn't broken even now. In the burial earth, the small boy huddled on the bed, frowning, looking extremely pitiful. Amazing. I don't remember. Although he was somewhat unclear about the situation, Luo Jin knew very well how to use his own advantages. He just lowered his head dejectedly, hiding a trace of deep thought in his eyes. The air suddenly fell into An eerie silence. Luo Jin lowered his head. A bit nervous. What's going on? Why is no one talking? What he didn't know was, the monsters who had lived in the burial world for so many years usually had no chance to come into contact with such a fragrant, soft, and adorable child. Especially when his coquettish tone came out. They were all utterly charmed, feeling a bit euphoric. Even the clown who had been hiding in the corner, afraid of scaring Luo Jin, leaned a little head in this direction. Not receiving the expected response, Luo Jin lifted his head, only to meet Mu Yia's eyes, curved into an even greater smile. Mu Yia lowered her head again, typing on her phone for a while, then handed the phone to Luo Jin's eyes. You're really cute. How old are you this year? Luo Jin looked at his own short little hands, boldly made a guess. I'm 4 years old. His voice was milky and childish. Just then, movement came from the doorway. I searched for so long, but couldn't find anyone. What are you all doing in the guest room? A young girl in a blue dress walked in. The hem of her dress was stained a dark red by an unknown liquid. The heavy smell of blood wafted into Luo Jin's nostrils, making his pupils contract imperceptibly. The girl's light red eyes swept across the room, pausing for a moment on Luo Jin. What's the situation? Mu Yia stood up, gesturing in sign language to the girl. You're injured. The girl shook her head. Minor injuries. Are you guys? Her gaze swept over Luo Jin on the bed. Mu Yia hadn't figured out how to explain for a moment. That silly Tang Ruo also only grew taller, not smarter. Naturally didn't know how to explain either. Finally, the clown in the corner spoke up. He was picked up by Tang Ruo. He's 4 years old, quite well behaved. Hearing this, the young girl was stunned for a moment. A trace of a smile appeared on her cold face. But the next words made Luo Jin's heart turn cold. Where is he 4 years old? He's clearly a child who just turned 3. Luo Jin's eyes widened slightly. Just who is this young girl? She could actually see the age of his current body. Seeing the young girl say this, the people present showed no intention of doubting her. The young girl smiled and looked at the clown. But you, Yin Shin. It's rare to see you so happy. Do you like this child a lot? Yin Shin did not reply. She just averted her gaze. It was impossible to tell what her attitude was. The young girl raised an eyebrow. After scanning the expressions of everyone in the room one by one, a look of surprise appeared on her face. It's rare to see you all so unified in your view on one matter. Hearing this, it was instead Luo Jin who was confused. He was sure he hadn't spaced out just now. Clearly, no one had spoken. How did she come to that conclusion? Looking at him sitting obediently on the bed, a little boy with a face full of bewilderment, the young girl's heart softened uncontrollably. All right, all these years, your sister hasn't given you any gifts. This time, I'll make an exception. She walked to the bedside and sat down, making eye contact with Luo Jin. What's your name? Luo Jin immediately felt a wave of bloody scent rushing towards him. His voice even became a bit stuttered. I'm Luo Jin. Good, Zhao Jin. From now on, we are your family. My name is Lan Zhou. I am the eldest sister in this family. Looking at these new family members, none of whom seemed like normal people, Luo Jin, in the end, still did not voice the refusal in his heart. So, over the next hour, Lan Zhou introduced him to the new family members. The second brother is the Minotaur giant who picked him up. His name is Tang Ruo. The third brother is a clown named Yin Shin. The quiet Mu Yue is his fourth sister. There are also 2 older brothers who are working these days and are temporarily not at home. According to Lan Zhou's description, one is named Nibel. He is a gentle man who looks like an angel, but has a rather nasty personality. Except for family members, anything can become the target of his teasing. The last one is more mysterious. He was the youngest in the family before Luo Jin arrived. His name is Fu Bei. Almost no one has seen his true appearance. Coming and going are accompanied by eerie black mist. After listening to Lan Zhou's description, Luo Jin fell into silence. This family seems terrifying no matter how you look at them. Zhao Jin, what were your previous family and friends like? Luo Jin shook his head. His lowered eyelids were somewhat dim. I used to live in an orphanage. No family, and no friends. Luo Jin's words were not false. He knew from a young age that he was different from others. He could see things that others couldn't. Not only could he see ghosts, but he could also see others' emotions. Disgust is a gloomy black. Irritation is a glaring yellow. Affection is a soft pink. Anger is a dark red like blood. He has seen people who appear to be nice gentlemen, but are actually haunted by malevolent spirits. He has also seen people with fierce expressions, emitting golden virtuous merits. He has seen others speak to him with a smile, but their hearts are pitch black, wishing for him to die immediately. He has seen others gently pat his head, but their hearts are filled with an unbearable yellow irritation. At a young age, he saw through human hearts too clearly. This led to Luo Jin's reclusive personality. But now, looking at his new family before him, without exception, when they look at him, their bodies are all a light pink. Luo Jin is a bit unable to understand. Someone who looks like a monster treats them with genuine sincerity. Yet the family who grew up with them in the orphanage since childhood always feels incompatible with them. Such complex emotions made Luo Jin's head spin for a moment. He isn't good at handling interpersonal relationships, but facing the new family members, who are all emitting a faint pink aura, Luo Jin still mustered up courage, reached out and held one of Lan Zhou's fingers in their palm. Family, do you really want to be my family? Once you say it, you can't take it back, you know. Lan Zhou felt the slight pressure on their finger. A faint trembling, as if extremely insecure. Not sure if it was an illusion. Lan Zhou's expression held a trace of inexplicable sorrow. They lowered their gaze, placed their other hand on Luo Jin's head. Of course, we are the best family. No one can separate any one of us. Having received a satisfactory answer, Luo Jin, still feverish, closed their eyes. The older brothers and sisters all tactfully softened their footsteps, perhaps subconsciously believing that there was no more danger around them. Luo Jin slept very deeply this time. They had a very strange dream. A semi-transparent light screen glowed before their eyes. Welcome to the Burial Earth world. We hope you enjoy the time ahead. Burial, Earth. It's these two words again. This is the shore beyond death. A mad utopia. Don't keep me in suspense. What exactly is the burial ground? After the light screen flickered twice, the surroundings quickly began to change. Just like that, the fellow supposedly called the system showed him the burial ground. Specifically, it was somewhat like the Infinite Flow novels he had read before. And the players here were all like him. After dying for some unknown reason, they were pulled into this world, earning points by participating in instance games, using points to exchange for their own lives, and anything else. When the changes in the surroundings stopped, he spoke up to ask again, "Then what kind of existence are my elder brother and sister?" The system quickly responded, "They are within the burial ground, the instance NPCs responsible for hunting humans." Although he had some vague suspicions before, the moment it was confirmed, Luo Jin was still somewhat shocked. On becoming the villainous younger brother in the game, what should one do? Waiting online, quite urgent. Luo Jin did not sleep for long this time. He had been perceptive since childhood, so when he sensed someone watching him, he instantly opened his eyes. The person standing in front of his bed was instead startled by him. The visitor wore loose, large clothing. Their entire body was shrouded in black mist. This should be the youngest elder brother Lan Zhou mentioned. His name is Fu Bei. Luo Jin sat up from the bed. He looked up obediently at Fu Bei. Brother Fu Bei. The other person grunted in acknowledgement. His voice was both cold and deep. He seemed a bit difficult to get along with. But Luo Jin knew this was just a facade. Because, if you observed carefully, you could detect the pink color revealed beneath the black mist. Luo Jin judged. This black mist must be Fu Bei's skill. In other words, did the black mist conceal Fu Bei's emotions? He inexplicably felt like laughing. Seems like he's an introverted older brother. Luo Jin had almost slept enough. He touched his own flat stomach and revealed a somewhat pitiful expression. Brother, I'm hungry. Fu Bei's figure visibly stiffened again. After being stunned for several seconds, he then reached out his hand to Luo Jin. Let's go. Take Yudo, eat something. Luo Jin got out of bed with his short little legs propping him up, holding onto the hand extended by Fu Bei, so that Luo Jin's short little legs can keep up without struggling. Fu Bei deliberately slowed down his pace. As soon as I stepped out of the guest room door, Luo Jin was met by the enormous white wings before his eyes. Got attracted. Let out a small exclamation of surprise. The owner of the wings heard the exclamation and turned his head, but only saw Fu Bei. After a momentary daze, he quickly lowered his head again. Only then did he see Luo Jin, who was being led by Fu Bei. It's you. Nibel bent down, patted Luo Jin's head. Hello, brother Luo Jin. I am Nibel. Luo Jin obediently and politely greeted him. Brother Nibel, can I touch your wings? Nibel's smiling appearance was handsome and gentle. His wings moved slightly. He extended his wings towards Luo Jin's direction. The feel of the pointed feathers was smooth and fluffy. Luo Jin carefully touched it twice, somewhat reluctantly withdrew his hand. Thank you, Nibel. Brother Nibel smiled at him, faintly revealing sharp teeth, paired with an angelic face, creating a discordant sense of eeriness. After Luo Jin finished touching the wings, Fu Bei, who was standing to the side, then spoke, saying he's hungry. Nibel slightly shifted his body aside, letting the two of them pass. His brow slightly raised. The smile hanging at the corner of his lips deepened. It seems not being the youngest in the house anymore makes you very happy, huh? Fu Bei's footsteps paused for a moment, his voice cold. Shut up. Nibel stopped talking, but the smile still hung on his face. And what no one knew was, at this moment, the tips of Fu Bei's ears hidden under his hood were already slightly flushed red. What Nibel said was true. No longer being the youngest brother in the house made Fu Bei feel very peculiar. He had never seen such a being before. So small and soft. A little lump. With pale white eyes. He had been killing people in the burial land for 20 years. He thought his heart had become as cold as his blade. But when Luo Jin looked up and called him brother, he felt himself melting. Those bright eyes, unlike those foolish humans, sparkling like stars in the sky. Thinking of this, he glanced at the one sitting beside him, who was smiling cheerfully while drinking coffee. And watching them, Nibel almost had the words, "My little brothers are so cute," written all over his face. Don't think he didn't know about the arrival of this new little brother. Nibel must also be very happy, although he was the youngest in the family. But how much better off was Nibel? As the fifth in line, wasn't he also the one being taken care of by his older brothers and sisters? At this moment, Nibel put down his coffee cup, reached out and rubbed Luo Jin's head. Looking around for something? Luo Jin was a bit puzzled. Where are the other older brothers and sisters? Why haven't I seen them? Mu Yile and Yin Xin have gone to work. Tang Ruo and Lan Zhou are resting in their rooms. Because of their work, they always get sudden notifications from the system, so they have to seize every moment to rest and prepare for the next instance. Of course, he didn't mention such cruel matters. Zhao Jin is only 3 years old. It's not good to let him know so early. Nibel's gaze softened slightly. He would never admit that he couldn't bring himself to say it when facing his adorable little brother. Such an important matter should be left for the others to worry about. And it was at this very moment. In mid-air, a harsh, piercing mechanical voice suddenly rang out. Notice, please have NPC Lanzhou proceed quickly to instance number 003. Please have NPC Fubei proceed quickly to instance number 019. Please have NPC Nibel proceed quickly to instance number 024. Please have NPC Teng Ruo proceed quickly to instance number 009. Instance activation countdown, 45 minutes. As the icy mechanical voice resounded throughout the entire castle, a massive countdown appeared before everyone's eyes. Even Luo Jin saw it. That red countdown. It was a red font, different from the one in the dream. Wait. If all the family members in the castle go to work, wouldn't that leave him all alone? The moment this thought flashed through his mind, Fu Bei's cold and heavy voice came through. Zhao Jin has something to say to you. Luo Jin obediently let him lead her to the hall. Inside the hall, everyone still in the castle had gathered. At this moment, Lanzhou was frowning slightly, scolding Teng Ruo. Let me remind you again. Think a little faster. Remember to use your skills. Don't let yourself be tricked by players again. Teng Ruo smiled somewhat guiltily, looking a bit silly. Got it. At this moment, Nibel smiled and waved to Luo Jin. Zhao Jin, come here. Your brother has something to tell you. Luo Jin let Nibel place his hand on her head. Bring Zhao Jin along. Your older brothers and sisters are going to work. I want to stay with you. Nibel hadn't finished speaking yet. Luo Jin reached out and grabbed his sleeve. A pair of big eyes, like those of an abandoned puppy, blinking repeatedly, facing his insecure younger brother. Nibel looked somewhat troubled. He cast a glance in Lanzhou's direction. Lanzhou, understanding the tacit signal, walked over to Luo Jin's side. She crouched down to meet Luo Jin at eye level. Little Jin, your big brother and sister are going to work. It's very dangerous. Luo Jin naturally understood the danger level of being an NPC in the burial earth world. But he still had to follow them, no matter what. He wasn't really a 3-year-old child. Then Luo Jin revealed a somewhat wronged expression. Tears welled up in his eyes, swirling around. Are you going to leave me all alone too? Seeing Luo Jin looking at them with tearful eyes. At this point, even Lanzhou was somewhat at a loss for words. Although she was long accustomed to planning everything for her family, she still wasn't good at handling situations like this. Which of the younger siblings in the family didn't possess formidable power? It was only this newly arrived, youngest human brother, who couldn't be bumped or jostled. They couldn't even bear to speak a harsh word to him. After locking eyes with Luo Jin for a long moment, Lanzhou somewhat awkwardly averted her gaze. Forget it. If you want to follow, then follow. Anyway, we can protect you. No one had ever doubted what Lanzhou said. Once these words were spoken, almost everyone's eyes lit up, except for Fu Bei. Because no one could see his eyes, Lanzhou looked around the circle, where they didn't understand their meaning. Let Zhao Jin follow Teng Ruo. The danger level of instance 009 is not high, with Zhao Jin accompanying him. When encountering situations, he can also consider things more carefully. Teng Ruo is one of the rare ones in the family, who can overpower 90% of players by alone. If not for his mind turning too slowly, always being tricked round and round by players, he would have long replaced Yin Xin as the ace among NPCs. Hearing Lanzhou's words, Teng Ruo's eyes instantly lit up. The red countdown still has 30 minutes left. Lanzhou used points to exchange for a watch. Put it on Luo Jin. Zhao Jin. This watch allows you to contact us at any time. If you notice anything wrong, Call us immediately. Luo Jin looked at the Zhao Tian Kai on his wrist. Cartoon watch. And it's pink. It was just quite sudden. Thank you, sister. Soon they left the castle. Around the castle, apart from a courtyard, nothing else could be seen. Like an isolated void space, they saw Tang Ruo walk to the tightly locked main gate of the courtyard, took out a large bunch of keys from his person. Tang Ruo found the key engraved with the number 009. Inserted into the keyhole. The wrist turned gently. The door opened, revealing a tall locust tree forest outside. Tang Ruo protected her younger brother as they walked inside the door. The figures of the two gradually vanished into the thick fog of the forest. At this moment, the 7 players on the other side looked at a wooden cabin in front of them, staring at each other in disbelief. The forest behind them was full of dangers, and the fog was getting thicker. The wooden cabin was clearly right in front of them. They only needed to take one step to open the door before them. But no one dared to take that step. However, this balance did not last long. Are there guests here? An aged voice came from inside the door. Although the voice was weak, it sounded kind, but no one dared to respond. In the current situation, everyone was very cautious. Don't just stand at the door. The weather is quite cold. As soon as the aged voice fell, a voice devoid of any emotion sounded in the air. System prompt. When the cabin owner speaks for the 3rd time, players still outside the cabin will be eliminated. Upon hearing this, everyone's faces changed, and they rushed toward the cabin in a frantic hurry. Those present had all experienced at least one instance or more. They feared that any hesitation would cost them their lives. Inside the cabin, thick quilt covered the small wooden bed. From under the quilt came the sound of uncontrollable coughing. With just a glance in that direction, cold sweat began to stream down incessantly. No one dared to speak. Even their breathing was kept very light. Everyone, please take a seat. I'm truly sorry. There's nothing I can use to entertain you all. The player named Zhao Zh wanted to open his mouth and say something, but he failed. He couldn't do it. No matter what, he just couldn't do it. It moved. The person on the bed moved. It seemed to turn over towards their side. The sound of coughing could be heard even more clearly now. Everyone was shrouded in a shadow named fear. They could only stare fixedly at the person on the bed. But no matter how they looked, the small bulge under the quilt could in no way be the shape of a person. At that moment, the creature on the bed slowly sat up. Its shiny eyes held a beastly nature. Its 3-lobed mouth moved rhythmically. It looked as if it was smiling. It was a rabbit, Snow White. What's wrong with the rabbit? Why aren't the children saying anything? At this moment, Tang Ruo didn't know what her younger brother was thinking. She only felt that being with her brother, even working in a dungeon, had become not so detestable. She took out her phone and checked the time. Alright, it should be coming soon. What's coming? Although Luo Jin was puzzled, he didn't ask further. Soon, a bizarre figure swiftly approached. Luo Jin only felt his scalp tingling intermittently. The fingers gripping Tang Ruo's horn also tightened slightly. Noticing the change in his younger brother, Tang Ruo frowned, looking at the person who had already run up in front of him. His voice was even deeper than usual. He said just a single, simple word, making the newcomer become trembling with fear. Lord Tang Ruo, I have already brought everyone to the rabbit's wooden cabin. Understood, you may go. Having received Tang Ruo's permission, the newcomer turned around and wanted to leave. Then he heard Tang Ruo's voice sound again. Don't run, it looks awful. Yes, the voice actually sounded a bit aggrieved. Luo Jin was somewhat surprised. He truly hadn't expected that Tang Ruo's attitude when facing family versus outsiders could be so completely different. If it weren't for him having long understood Tang Ruo's simple, honest character, He might have actually been fooled. Pretty cool, huh? Brother, what was that rabbit the person just mentioned? Does a rabbit also have a wooden cabin? Tang Ruo thought for a moment. Perhaps feeling it was a bit difficult to explain, he simply let Luo Jin see for himself. A red glow, like flame, swirled around his fingertip. Immediately after, a black cat walked out from behind a tree. Its voice was delicate and coquettish. It let out a meow. Luo Jin was placed on the ground by Tang Ruo. He looked at the little black cat rolling over to show its belly on the ground. Luo Jin couldn't help but reach out and touch the cat's belly. It's so well behaved. Tang Ruo explained. This is my skill. I can control animals. As for the rabbit that person mentioned, it is also one of the animals under my control. It can talk and has human-like thoughts. It's currently helping me work in the wooden house. Tang Ruo watched his brother playing happily with the kitten. He just felt that this scene was incredibly adorable. But work still needs to be done. His fingertips moved slightly. The black kitten turned and went into the woods, disappearing from sight. Brother, what should we do next? Tang Ruo took out a bracelet from his clothes pocket and handed it to Luo Jin. The locust forest is full of dangers everywhere. I can't always watch you when I'm working. This is what I really meant from the NPC exclusive mall. My skills are also attached. Can protect your safety. Luo Jin let Tang Ruo put the bracelet on her own wrist. On one hand, he wore the little genius watch given by his elder sister. On his hand, he wore the agate bracelet given by Tang Ruo. He genuinely felt the care and affection from his older brother and sister. Meanwhile, the little wooden house rabbit was bouncing around on the bed. Its tone seemed somewhat flustered and exasperated. What are you all screaming about? I'm just a little rabbit. I'm not even scared yet. What are you all afraid of? The scene looked quite absurd, but it subtly dispelled much of the fear that the 7 players had felt from the rabbit's eerie entrance earlier. Their expressions gradually relaxed. The system prompted that the instance had officially begun. A cold, mechanical voice abruptly sounded, startling the players and making their scalps tingle again. Although I already knew the system sound was unpredictable, I still always get startled by it. In contrast, that rabbit acted as if it didn't hear the system prompt at all and kept on chattering. It's like this. As you can see, I'm already an old rabbit and don't have the ability to go out to find food and water. So what you need to do these next few days is go out to find food and water and bring it back to the small wooden cabin. Remember to return to the wooden cabin before PM. Otherwise, who knows what the consequences will be. After the rabbit finished explaining the first phase's task, it didn't care what the players thought and just curled back up under the covers, seeming like it intended to go back to sleep. Everyone looked at each other. Finally, one called Zhao Zh was the first who couldn't hold back anymore and tried to communicate with the players around him. Hello, my name is Zhao Zh. There are 7 players total in the wooden cabin, 4 men and 3 women. All 7 people are newbies who have only experienced one instance. Even now, they still haven't figured out what exactly is going on with this world called the burial ground. Zhao Zh wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. What should we do next? He glanced at the clock hanging on the wooden cabin's wall. His voice was even a bit trembling. It's already 2 o'clock now, a rabbit said. We need to find food and water before PM. Bang, a loud noise. The player named Kae kicked the sofa. Damn it, why should we listen to a rabbit? At this moment, Kae recalled how he had just been frightened by such a thing, to the point of breaking out in a cold sweat. A sense of humiliation uncontrollably surged out. His gaze toward the bed also carried a killing intent. Zhao Zh found it a bit hard to listen any further. That ordinary rabbit shouldn't be able to talk, right? Having been contradicted, the killing intent in Ki's eyes shifted and turned toward Zhao Zh. Even if it's a talking rabbit, it's still just a rabbit, right? What is there to fear about a mere animal? His voice was firm and powerful, as if full of confidence. Even he himself was brainwashed by his own words. He even started walking toward the bed. Seeing his actions, everyone held their breath. Zhao Zh, who had spoken earlier, was even more restless. His intuition told him that the rabbit on the bed was no ordinary character. Qi's fingers had already touched the blanket on the bed. Just as he was about to pull the blanket aside, the aged voice of the rabbit from under the blanket sounded again. I advise you not to do this. Qi's hand, which was lifting the blanket, suddenly froze. A chill spread from the tips of his toes to the roots of his hair. A somewhat mechanical laughter, along with the movement under the blanket, gradually drifted over. Then, the rabbit's head emerged from under the blanket. Its pitch-black eyes were completely stained a bloody crimson. Its three-petaled mouth was stretched wide open. Its smile was exceedingly eerie. Everyone was so frightened they fell silent. Qi Yi, who was closest to the rabbit, repeatedly stepped backward. But paralyzed by fear, he suddenly fell to the ground. It was also at this moment that the players saw something else seemed to be hidden under the wooden bed. Several pairs of gleaming points of light were concealed in the darkness. Only at this moment did they become visible. Those were the eyes of beasts. Only Qi Yi, who had fallen to the ground, could sense that those several pairs of eyes were fixed intently on him, as if they were about to pounce and devour him completely in the next instant. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. The rabbit on the bed was still laughing, a sound that stabbed painfully into one's very heart. The next second, the rabbit's three-petaled mouth, stretched to its ears, quickly retracted, returned to its original state. Its change of expression was lightning fast. Even its eyes turned back to their original black color. What's wrong with all of you? Its voice returned to being kind and simple. Don't be so nervous. I'm just an ordinary beast, that's all. After the rabbit finished speaking, there was another rustling movement from under the quilt. Its head was once again covered by the quilt. The several pairs of gleaming lights under the bed also vanished back into the darkness. Quiet, deathly still, a silence like death. No one could forget the moment just before the quilt covered its head. Those eyes were as red as a pool of blood in hell. It was like the most ferocious demon was saying, I've been watching you all along. The talking white rabbit made them understand. Anything that seems harmless within the burial land instance is not as simple as it appears on the surface. Even a rabbit could take their lives at any moment. Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, the surrounding environment, at a glance, was filled with trees. The tip of his nose was surrounded by the faint fragrance of pagoda tree flowers. He also didn't know what season it actually was within the burial land. Clearly, the weather was somewhat cold. Yet the pagoda tree flowers on the trees were blooming beautifully. Luo Jin was still holding a string of pagoda tree flowers that Tang Ruo had picked for him. Pure white and sweetly fragrant, making one want to take a bite. He had eaten crispy pancakes made from pagoda tree flowers before, by the director of the orphanage. The taste was quite good. Unfortunately, later, others said that tree was unlucky, and he never got to eat them again. Luo Jin waved the pagoda tree flowers in front of Tang Ruo's eyes. Brother, I want a basket, so I can collect pagoda tree flowers to make crispy pancakes to eat. Regarding Luo Jin's request, Tang Ruo naturally wouldn't refuse. He immediately exchanged points for a bamboo basket and handed it to Luo Jin. He also very enthusiastically offered suggestions and strategies for Luo Jin. Your fourth sister, Mu Yue, is very skilled at cooking. You can ask her to try out the 108 different ways to prepare pagoda tree flowers. At this moment, Mu Yue, who was far away working in instance 004. For some reason, she suddenly sneezed. The player she had just caught hold of seized this opening to use a skill. and quickly slipped away. Mu Yue frowned slightly. Who was talking about her behind her back? Watching Luo Jin's action of picking the pagoda tree flowers, Tang Ruo seemed to suddenly remember something. It seemed she had heard players talk about these pagoda tree flowers before, something about. She couldn't remember. But since she couldn't remember, then it probably wasn't anything important, right? She stood up and waved to Luo Jin. Let's go, Zhao Jin. We need to get to work. Tang Ruo picked up his pair of giant axes and led Luo Jin deeper into the forest. And the tasty little flowers in Luo Jin's eyes, when it came to the player's side, were completely not the same matter. The 7 players from the wooden cabin had just stepped out, preparing to find food for the rabbit, when they encountered something bizarre again. The small pagoda tree flowers in the forest seemed to have come to life, falling from the trees onto skin. They would, like a water stain, incessantly burrow into the skin. The white, shriveled flowers, after sucking human blood, gradually became plump and bright red. What is this thing? A female player named Hususu screamed. While dodging the flowers falling from the trees, she tried to pick off the small flowers stuck to her body. But this was futile. No matter how much strength she used, the flowers were stuck motionless to the skin. Everyone was thrown into chaos. The chaotic situation made it impossible for them to move an inch, let alone search for water and food. They couldn't even maintain a calm state of mind. No one knew how much time had passed, so long that their skin, from constant scratching, developed fierce red marks. Only then did those snowflake-like flowers finally fall off their bodies. The flowers, saturated with blood, fell quietly to the ground. The forest was already cold. After what had just happened, everyone was drenched in a cold sweat. The players lifted their heads, and only then did they notice that fog had risen in the forest again at some point, enveloping them hazily within it. There was a sticky, scorching sensation. They now stood on a small dirt path. The path twisted and wound deep into the forest. At its end was green, a jungle abyss so deep it appeared nearly black. Whoosh! The land began to tremble slightly. From within the abyss came heavy footsteps. No one could see a figure, yet the footsteps parted the thick layers of fog, drilling straight into their ears. What was that sound? Gazing at the path's end, one player involuntarily took a step back. The footsteps drew closer and closer. A massive shadow emerged within the dense fog. The blood in everyone's veins seemed to freeze. My feet seemed to have grown roots. I couldn't even manage to blink my eyes, watching that enormous figure get closer and closer. Finally, someone was the first to react. One player let out a huge scream, turned around and tried to run away. This scream was like flipping a switch for the other players. They all started running towards the direction of the small wooden house. However, before they could run more than a few steps, a black figure swiftly flashed by, blocking their path of retreat. The black cat arched its back. All the fur on its body stood on end. Its eyes became thin, vertical slits. Its voice sounded like a child's cry, sharp and piercing. That lord has arrived. The cat blocked the player's retreat. Its cold, severe gaze swept over every person present. The players, for a moment, could neither advance nor retreat. Zhao Zh looked back. That figure was getting even closer to them. Is that even human? Its height must be at least over 3 meters, right? So terrifying. Just as all the players were still trembling, the giant finally became clear to see, holding a giant axe in both hands. On its clothes were dark red stains, dried for who knows how long. But this wasn't the most frightening part. The most frightening thing was still the person's head. It was completely a cow's head. This is simply not human. It's a monster. Though no expression could be seen on the Minotaur's face, almost everyone knew that this Minotaur held intense killing intent towards them. A child sat eerily on its broad shoulders, looking just like the mountain spirits from ghost stories that had stepped out of the tales. The Minotaur came closer and closer. Zhao Zh could even see the fingers gripping the giant axe, clenching tighter and tighter. We'll die. This person really wants to kill us. After realizing this, among the 7 people, Kei, who had the worst temper, was the first to lose control. He suddenly kicked at the black cat blocking the path. Get the hell out of my way. The cat's movements were agile and swift, dodging the foot kicking towards it, and let out a sharp meow. The path was clear. The players quickly seized this opening, running towards the direction of the wooden house. Only after the figures of the several people had disappeared did Tang Ruo's footsteps finally come to a stop. He first placed Luo Jin, who was on his shoulder, onto the ground. The black cat ran a few steps to Tang Ruo's side. Unlike its bristling hostility towards the players, it looked at Luo Jin obediently and curiously. Luo Jin was also looking at it. He regretfully discovered that this cat wasn't the one he had seen before, though both were very cute. The black cat's voice was delicate and coquettish, seeing that Luo Jin had been sitting on Tang Ruo's shoulder just now. I knew at once that this one was also not someone to be trifled with. He affectionately rubbed against Luo Jin's leg. Lifting his head, he spoke to Tang Ruo. It's fine that they got away, sir. Leave the rest to the rabbit. After saying this, Tang Ruo thought for a moment. Then he said to the cat, you, help take Zhao Jin around for a tour. I need to go to the tree next. It's not suitable to bring him along. The moment Tang Ruo mentioned the word tree, the cat understood instantly. Jin was somewhat puzzled. He looked left and right. Brother, there are many trees here. Why do you need to go find another tree? Tang Ruo crouched down and patiently explained. That tree is different. Seeing that he didn't elaborate, Luo Jin didn't ask further. As a well-behaved younger brother, he should still listen to his older brother. Alright, little cat. Let's go play together. Little cat, what's wrong with you? Luo Jin looked down, puzzled, at the black cat. He noticed the black cat's ears were in an airplane ears state. Its eyes were staring blankly, as if in a daze. Ever since Luo Jin uttered the word brother earlier, it had fallen into this bewildered state. At this moment, the black cat's mind was filled with nothing but relief. Fortunately, it hadn't been disrespectful towards the child earlier. It wasn't until Luo Jin reached out and poked him twice that the dazed black cat finally snapped out of it. Watching the two little ones leave together, only then did Tang Ruo pick up the twin axes and headed in another direction, without Luo Jin by his side. His entire demeanor became even colder and harder. That little Lord Jin, is there somewhere you'd like to go? Luo Jin, holding a small basket, tilted his head and thought for a moment. Is there a place with better sunlight here? I'd like to pick some pagoda flowers. As he spoke, he shook the bamboo basket in his hand, completely unaware that the cat had momentarily paused its steps, looking at the small white flowers in the other's basket. The kitten was momentarily speechless, can only say, as expected of Lord Tang Ruo's younger brother, one of the most terrifying beings in the forest, the vampire, in his hands, actually behaved as docilely as an ordinary plant. The black cat's respect for Luo Jin reached its peak at this moment. Then let's go to the riverside. The sunlight there is the best in the entire forest, and unlike the homely, warm atmosphere on Luo Jin's side, the players who returned to the rabbit's wooden house were all trembling like sieves. For a full 5 minutes, no one could speak. Zhao Zh, somewhat neurotically, glanced towards the door, as if afraid something might chase after them. Under extreme fear, the players seemed to have forgotten. The wooden cabin they were in didn't seem all that safe either. The rabbit still maintained the smiling face from when they first met. The way its three-lobed mouth split open looked very eerie. So what about the food and water? Not exaggerating at all. The cold sweat on the players, in this instant, rolled down like rain. Yes, the giant they had just seen was clearly a buff in this dungeon, no doubt. But the one who provided them with temporary shelter, was the rabbit really some kind and friendly fellow? The clock hanging in the wooden cabin was still ticking away. The sky outside the window was already very dark. Only 3 hours remained until the 10 o'clock the rabbit mentioned, seemingly sensing the rabbit's not-so-pleasant mood. A few faint roars came from under the bed. In such a tense atmosphere, Qi suddenly slapped Zhao Zh on the back. Zhao's nerves were already stretched to the breaking point. With that slap, he nearly stumbled headfirst into the rabbit's embrace. The rabbit's ears twitched. Its gaze lingered on Zhao's face for a moment longer, then passed over him to look at Qi behind him. Qi, suddenly being stared at by those terrifying red eyes. His body trembled imperceptibly. He hurriedly explained, "We've decided to take shifts. It was decided that today, it's this guy's turn to go out and complete the mission." Upon hearing this, Zhao's expression froze in stunned disbelief. Let's wait a moment. When was this decided? How come he didn't know about it? He looked incredulously towards the others, only to find the other players also wore looks of confusion. Zhao Zh instantly understood. This was a decision made unilaterally by Qi alone. Zhao Zh roared, arguing fiercely with him. But gradually, the players who had initially been wearing expressions of bewilderment at Qi's proposal also began to change their tune. I think Qi's proposal is pretty good. Taking turns is fair. Zhao Zh, sorry, but please go out and complete the mission today. Humans are always like this. In critical moments, as long as they aren't the ones suffering, anything is actually fine. In less than 2 minutes, almost everyone was persuading Zhao Zh, urging him to leave this wooden cabin, isolated like an island in the sea. The rabbit took in this entire farce. Its 3-section mouth curled into a slightly wider grin. It watched as Zhao Zh was pushed out of the wooden cabin by several people. Leisurely, called out, "Remember to come back before 10 o'clock. As soon as the words fell, a red countdown appeared on Zhao's player panel. Time remaining, 2 hours and 57 minutes. Outside the door, Zhao Zh involuntarily swallowed hard. His legs were still weak, but he had no choice but to move forward. He seemed to be gradually stepping into the abyss, and at this moment, on the other side, the sky had completely darkened. There were a few fireflies around Luo Jin, illuminating his path. But even so, he was still somewhat worried, frequently glancing back in the direction he came from. The black cat walked by his side, swatting away small stones that might trip him with a paw. "Little Jin, sir. It's getting dark. Be careful where you step." Luo Jin asked worriedly. "It's already dark. Why hasn't Brother Tang Ruo returned yet?" The kitten let out a soft, adorable purr from its throat and rubbed against Luo Jin's pant leg. "Little Jin, sir. No need to worry. Even if Lord Tang Luo isn't here, as long as we're in this locust forest, we can protect you." Luo Jin knew what the black cat meant by "we." It was nothing more than the other little animals in the forest. But that wasn't what he was worried about. There were still far too many unsolved mysteries. Although saying this might invite laughter, he still bent down and patted the kitten's head. As an NPC of Tibet, could Brother Tang Ruo be in danger? The kitten gently nuzzled Luo Jin's hand and said, "Although there are indeed cases where players harm NPCs, but as for the players this time, I saw through the rabbit's eyes. They're all just a bunch of trash. Lord Zhaojin, you don't need to worry." Through the rabbit's eyes. Luo Jin secretly noted this information. He had heard about this rabbit several times already. Not sure what role it's playing. And the tree Teng Ruo said she was going to find. What role does that play? Luo Jin's expression remained unchanged. But his mind was racing. With a snap sound, a faint noise interrupted his thoughts. He turned to look and directly met the gaze of an unfamiliar man. The man looked somewhat familiar, seemed like someone he had just seen. One of the 7 players. His gaze was uncertain and suspicious, sometimes falling on Luo Jin, sometimes falling on the black cat. Kid, come here quickly. That cat is very dangerous. His tone was genuinely urgent. Luo Jin was stunned for a moment, tilting his head, somewhat confused. Poor Zhao Zh. During the day, under the intense fear of facing Teng Ruo directly, he actually completely forgot about Luo Jin, who had appeared together with Teng Ruo. At this moment, his gaze was warily fixed on that black cat. Although he had just entered this instance not long ago, his intuition told him animals play a different role in this instance. It was a completely subconscious reaction. Zhao Zh shouted towards the child by the river. For players like them, it didn't matter much. But for a child like this, if treated cruelly in the copy, that would be too outrageous. But his voice not only caught the little boy's attention, but also successfully made the cat turn its head. Instantly, its black fur puffed up. Damn player. How did you get here? Lord Zhao Jin. Don't be afraid. As soon as I give the order, countless jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards will come out to protect you. Zhao Zh heard the cat's words and visibly froze for a moment. Luo Jin was a bit speechless. Putting aside everything else, just the phrase, jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards from the kitten sounded very much like a villain. Well, but as the younger brother of the copy boss, he was pretty much the same. Looking at Zhao's uncertain and suspicious expression, Luo Jin didn't have any other thoughts. After all, based on this person's earlier actions, it was clear that he wasn't a bad person. Moreover, he could see that this man's emotions were blue. He was worried about him. Luo Jin reached out and patted the cat's head. The cat's puffed up fur smoothed down a bit, but its eyes were still full of vigilance. It stared intently at Zhao Zh, as if ready to pounce and bite his throat if he made any strange moves. Luo Jin tilted his head, using his highly deceptive appearance to the fullest. Brother, who are you? Why are you here? The little boy's tone was full of innocence. Under the gaze of such clear eyes, Zhao Zh unconsciously let his guard down. It's a mission. I need food and water. When he said the last word, Zhao Zh had a noticeable pause for a moment. His gaze passed over Luo Jin and the cat, and looked towards the river behind them. Luo Jin's voice was extremely well behaved. Brother, then come and fetch some water. Looking at that river, then looking at Luo Jin and the cat beside him, Zhao Zh found it hard not to suspect whether this was a premeditated scheme. But what else could he do? The situation couldn't get much worse anyway. He tentatively approached the small river, took out a gourd from his chest, carefully glanced at Luo Jin and the black cat one more time, and only then bent over to fill the gourd with water. Luo Jin spoke as if unintentionally. By the way, when I came here, I seemed to see a fruit tree upstream. The fruits on it were really big. Hearing this, Zhao's eyes lit up. He was a very simple person. All his thoughts were written on his face. Not to mention Luo Jin. Even the cat, after carefully observing the person in front, came to the conclusion that this person was harmless. Gradually relaxed, Zhao Zh quickly snapped out of his joy. He said sincerely, "Thank you, little brother." Luo Jin thought for a few seconds. Then he took out a small cluster of pagoda flowers from the basket. Brother, actually quite like you. This is for you. As soon as his words fell, A few fireflies carried that cluster of pagoda flowers and flew toward Zhao Zh. The moment Zhao Zh saw the familiar-looking flowers, he felt a stinging pain all over his body. But the fireflies just hovered in mid-air, carrying the flowers, looking very much like they wouldn't give up until he accepted it. Zhao Zh had no choice. He tentatively reached out his hand and gently touched the pagoda flowers. After not feeling any strange sensation, he finally felt relieved and took the cluster of pagoda flowers. Suddenly, a ding sounded in his mind. A system prompt, audible only to Zhao Zh, rang out. Detected that the player has obtained a special item, Blood-Sucking Pagoda, from E's gift. Congratulations to the player for obtaining the Blood-Sucking Pagoda immunity skill. Zhao Zh was surprised. He hadn't expected that a small cluster of pagoda flowers could bring him such a pleasant surprise. But why does the system come with its own censorship? What exactly is this from E's gift? Is it this child's name? The cluster of pagoda flowers held by Zhao Zh instantly became sacred in his eyes. Luo Jin, who was completely unaware of what had happened, suddenly found himself being stared at by a pair of sparkling eyes. Luo Jin was a bit puzzled. What? He just casually gave a small flower, didn't he? Can't he give it? Why are you looking at him with such strange eyes? And the little cat crouching next to him instantly puffed up into a furble again. Damn human. Take back your offensive, damn gaze. The sharp voice made Zhao Zh dare not look any longer. But the surprise and joy in his heart still couldn't be suppressed. Luo Jin felt that the adult in front of him had suddenly become strange. He looked at the little genius watch on his hand. Quickly changed the subject. Brother. It's almost 9 o'clock already. Zhao's boiling blood instantly turned cold. Remembering that he still had a task to complete, couldn't stay any longer. After what just happened, he also understood that Luo Jin was no ordinary child. But before leaving, he still gave a few words of advice. Kid, it's dark now. You should quickly have your parents pick you up. It's really unsafe to be alone. Luo Jin remained silent. If my parents came to pick me up, then you probably wouldn't be as calm as you are now. The ignored little black cat angrily puffed up its fur. Isn't it this stinky human? What do you mean? Not putting it, this super cute, but also super powerful cat, in your eyes, right? Look straight at me, damn human. However, the puffed up little cat jumping up and down was completely ignored. Zhao Zh ran along the river all the way upstream. In less than 10 minutes, sure enough, he saw trees laden with fruit. He didn't have time to choose. He casually picked a few and stuffed them into his bosom. He hurriedly headed in the direction of the wooden cabin. He hadn't noticed it on the way here. But on the way back, Zhao Zh realized how difficult the paths in this forest were to traverse. Every step forward was into endless darkness. An indescribable sense of panic spread wildly in the darkness. Zhao Zh constantly felt as if eyes were staring fixedly at him from the shadows. He didn't know how much time had passed. Finally, he saw the small wooden cabin in the darkness. The cabin that had felt terrifying during the day, at this moment, was like a lighthouse on the sea. He didn't dare to look back the entire way. He was practically running. Just 1 minute before the countdown was about to end, he pushed open the cabin door. Before his panting could even subside, through the gap of the nearly closed door, he saw in the dense fog of the forest outside countless strange red dots. They were eyes, weary eyes, blood red in color. With a creak, the wooden door closed. Zhao Zh turned his head stiffly and met a pair of eyes exactly like those outside the door. The rabbit's eyes blinked. The red pupils instantly turned back to black. Its tone was indescribably kind. You're back. How was the mission? Zhao Zh swallowed a mouthful of saliva. With trembling hands, he untied the gourd filled with water. Then he took out the fruits packed in his backpack. The rabbit stared at the items Xiao Zh held for quite a while, letting out a faint sigh. Ah, I thought on the very first day I could have a full meal with my friends. What a pity. Those brief 2 sentences made Zhao's heart leap to his throat. The next second, the hidden coldness in the rabbit's tone gradually faded away. The task was completed quite well. Other players, have your dinner. I'm going to rest now too. On the other side, a crisp bell suddenly rang out in the night forest. It was still quite frightening. Luo Jin raised his wrist and glanced at his watch. It was second brother. Luo Jin answered the call instantly. A deep, pained voice came from the other end of the phone. Faint footsteps could also be heard in the background. Miss, I'm done on my end. I'll be back right away. Are you hungry? Not hungry, I just ate a lot of fruits. Fruits? Tang Ruo, on the other end of the phone, slightly frowned. There's only one type of edible fruit in this forest. It's reserved for the players to complete tasks, growing in this wild, desolate place. Who knows how many people have touched them? How can such fruits be given to a young one to eat? His steps back to the city involuntarily quickened. His demeanor was exactly like that of a parent afraid that their child would pick up garbage to eat outside. The family head, Zhao Jin. You just stand there and wait for me. I'll be right back. The call ended. Luo Jin fiddled with the watch with great interest. Only then did he realize this watch was actually full of surprises. His finger swiped down. A series of apps scrolled across the screen. Not only was there a positioning system, there was actually even a chat application. Luo Jin clicked on the green icon. The first thing that caught his eye was a family group called A Family Full of Love. Who came up with this group name? He clicked to enter and looked. Including him, there were 7 people in total. Messages kept popping out in the chat box. The user with the ID Lucifer sent a message. Selfie JPG. The attached picture was Nibel's bright smiling face. Behind him was a bloody, mangled mess of flesh. 14 this month, top of the NPC leaderboard. Who else but me? The clown is actually me. Reply, what kind of bullshit are you talking? Then, the clown is actually me. Also sent a photo. Luo Jin opened the picture sent by Yin Xin. Just like a projection, that picture appeared in midair just like that. There were more than 30 balloons in the picture. On each balloon, a barely alive human was tied. Lucifer replied, yours was a high-level instance, right? How are there so many players? I heard Tang Ruo's side only had 7 today. Looking at his older brother's chat history, Luo Jin's face was full of speechlessness. What are all these strange comparisons? He thought for a second. He sent out a space character. He was pleasantly surprised to find that he could also send messages. Luo Jin manually tagged Nibel. What does fifth brother's high-level instance mean? There was a moment of silence in the chat box. 1 second later, group owner refuses overtime. Recalled Lucifer's message. Group owner refuses overtime. Recalled the message from, the clown turned out to be me. The risk photos that Nibel and Shadow Star just sent were recalled by the group owner. Looking at the nickname refuses overtime, Luo Jin guessed it must be big sister Lan Zhou. Then refuses overtime. Sent another message in the group. Stop sending these photos. Is the young lady still in the group? Miss Dark Lord, haven't you rested yet? Is Tang Ruo not taking good care of you? Thorny Hedgehog, have you eaten dinner? Are you tired today? Luo Jin's appearance caused a flood of messages. Luo Jin discovered that his family members all have some issues. For example, Yin Xin. Although they only met once, it's not hard to see that Shadow Star doesn't like to talk. His personality is also a bit awkward. In short, Sundeer. But in online group chats, this funny guy is him. That Sundeer third brother. And Fu Bei. usually doesn't show his face, comes and goes with a gloomy aura. The result was in the group chat, using a cringy nickname like Ruler of the Night to communicate with people. Is this some kind of gap, Mo? Luo Jin felt a bit like laughing, but he still replied one by one first to those messages expressing concern for him. Second brother is taking very good care of me. And I get to pet a cat. Attaching a single selfie of himself holding the cat. Luo Jin didn't know that his selfie, having just been sent, was already swiftly saved by 6 people off screen. Although they weren't in the same place, their actions at this moment achieved 100% synchronization in tacit understanding. CSR photo drop. Zhao Jin holding a cat photo. Who could resist saving that? Luo Jin didn't know that the photo he sent was instantly set as the phone wallpaper by his older brothers and sisters. He then added, "Second brother is back. I won't chat anymore for now. Brothers and sisters, please be safe." Such well-behaved and considerate words melted the hearts of the several people on the other end of the screen. Originally, the whole family wasn't the type to be very straightforward. Even though they all understood in their hearts that they were important to each other, they rarely spoke words of direct concern. This was precisely why. What they needed most was for the family to have a little sweetie like Luo Jin, who occasionally shows concern for his older brothers and sisters, making one feel as if their entire heart is soaking in warm water. Zhao Jin ranks as a little son, warm and cozy. Luo Jin saw Tang Ruo's tall figure from afar. It was clearly an extremely dark environment, but the other person seemed to have a spotlight on him, making him clearly visible at a glance. Perhaps this is the aura that NPCs naturally have. The moment Tang Ruo saw his younger brother running towards him, he crouched down and immediately hugged the small younger brother into his arms. Luo Jin was holding the cat. Tang Ruo was holding Luo Jin. The black cat had been trembling with fear in Luo Jin's arms for a while. "Someone save me, meow. Please, this is Lord Tang Ruo we're talking about. If you round it up, that means he was being held in Lord Tang Ruo's arms." The black cat was so excited it started purring non-stop. "What's wrong? Are you hungry? Or sleepy?" Tang Ruo looked his younger brother up and down with concern. Although he had only been apart for a short while, Tang Ruo was still worried about his younger brother. Luo Jin shook his head. He lifted the little black cat in his arms to show Tang Ruo. "Not hungry. Little Black is well behaved and cute. Took care of me very." "Oh, dear, Lil Black, what's wrong with you?" "Little Black, something's wrong. Little Black has fainted." Poor Little Black. After just experiencing the shock of Tang Ruo's embrace, and then hearing Luo Jin's praise, after the whole cat experienced great shock and great joy, it was completely overwhelmed by happiness and shut down. On the way home, Luo Jin carefully asked, "Second brother, can I bring Zhao Hai back too? He's really well behaved. Ask if you want to. But Nibel seems to be allergic to small animals." "I see." Luo Jin was a little disappointed. Tang Ruo looked at his younger brother's disappointed expression, immediately changed his tone. "But it's okay. I'll talk to him. He will definitely agree." Tang Ruo quietly clenched his fist. Young Master Luo Jin cheered happily. Unlike the warm scene here, the atmosphere in the small wooden house in the forest was growing increasingly tense. Even though it was already past midnight, no one dared to close their eyes. 5 glaring, blood-red words were carved on the players' panels. "Keep quiet." Behind these words, there was a countdown. 7 hours and 22 minutes until dawn. Good children, remember to keep quiet at night. It was precisely these words, "keep quiet," that made the players afraid to make the slightest sound. They didn't even dare to fall asleep, fearing that, once asleep, if their breathing became even slightly heavier, They would never wake up again. But the more the players didn't want something to happen, the more it seemed to occur. As time passed, a heavy breathing sound emerged. The other players, still traumatized from the day's horrors, were now all in a daze, and not a single one reacted in time to warn the others. And the one making the sound. It is a female player named Li Xia. She was seen with her eyes tightly closed. Her head slightly drooped. Her cheeks flushed with an unhealthy red. Clearly, she had a fever. Suddenly, an eerie laughter came from the bed, sharp and piercing. Then a rabbit suddenly turned its head. It grinned, with its claw held up to its lips. I heard it. The suddenly splattering blood made everyone's drowsiness vanish without a trace. Although everyone was trembling with fear, no one dared to scream aloud. The rabbit did not move. It didn't even get off the bed. But on Li Xia's neck, a bloodstain appeared out of nowhere. Li Xia abruptly woke from her deep sleep. Although her head was still groggy, she was immediately driven by fear to cover her mouth. And standing in front of her was a small hedgehog that had appeared from nowhere, holding a sharp thorn in its hand. Its eyes as transparent as glass. The little hedgehog stuck out its tongue, with a somewhat proud expression on its face. The tip of the sharp thorn in its hand was stained with blood. No one saw when it had struck. Li Xia tightly covered her mouth, not daring to make the slightest sound anymore. She even forgot to stop her own bleeding. Even her closest boyfriend, Yuan Mo, did not react in time. The small hedgehog looked cute, its demeanor resembling a mischievous child. His eyes were brimming with cunning. It flashed the thorn in its hand at the crowd. Then, whoosh, it darted under the bed, disappearing into the darkness. The rabbit's eyes were still a piercing red, a strange smile on its face. Keep quiet, okay? Afterwards, those pair of red eyes also gradually vanished from the bed. The light in the room was extremely dim, making the surrounding atmosphere feel even more eerie. He didn't know how much time had passed before Yuan Mo suddenly snapped out of it, frantically trying to stop his girlfriend's bleeding. Fortunately, the wound wasn't deep, not enough to be fatal. But Li Xia was already running a fever. After going through this ordeal, her face turned even paler. Sick people need to drink more water. Yuan Mo looked around, somewhat at a loss, but everyone his gaze swept past averted their eyes. Better to avoid involvement. That's what everyone thought. This scene overlapped with Zhao's situation back then. Zhao's nature is extremely kind, but he's not a pushover. In the morning, the scene of these people deliberately ganging up to push him out still lingered in his mind, unable to be shaken off. So he merely glanced at Li Xia's injured neck, then turned his head away, unwilling to look more. Truly, having no other choice, Yuan Mo's gaze fell upon the table, at what Zhao Zh had brought back, which contained water inside. He gritted his teeth. In the end, he still moved over and picked up that gourd. He took a sip of water, after waiting for about 1 minute, and discovering that nothing strange had happened. Only then did he bring the water from the gourd to Li Xia's lips. Li Xia had just taken a sip, when the gourd in her hand was snatched away by a hand. She looked up in shock, and happened to meet Qi Yi's triumphant gaze. Qi Yi had been staring at them for a while, and after seeing that both had drunk the water without any issues, only then did she reach out and snatch the gourd. Yuan Mo seemed as if he wanted to say something, but Qi Yi pointed toward the bed where the rabbit was sleeping, and placed a finger vertically against her lips. Seeing this, Yuan Mo's eyes turned red with anger. His entire body trembled. At that moment, his sleeve was tugged. He lowered his head, and found his girlfriend Li Xia shaking her head at him. Only then did Yuan Mo calm down a little. He pulled Li Xia into his arms. His eyes were downcast, making it unclear what he was thinking. Qi Yi triumphantly took the gourd and drank some water. Early the next morning, Luo Jin woke up and stretched. Because second brother's mission wasn't over yet. They hadn't returned to the castle, but had instead spent the night in another cabin in the forest. Although second brother Tang Ruo looked tall and burly, he was actually quite considerate. He had set up a wooden table outside the cabin door and thoughtfully used a few books. He adjusted the height of the little stool for Luo Jin. He would not allow his adorable younger brother to eat the rough wild fruits from the forest. On the table were soybean milk and steamed buns specially exchanged with points. Holding the warm soybean milk in his hands, Luo Jin looked up at Tang Ruo. Brother, what are we going to do today? I still need to go to the tree today. Zhao Jin, you play with Zhao Hai. It will protect you. Following Tang Ruo's words, Luo Jin's ankle was gently nudged. Zhao Hai crouched beside his feet and let out a sweet, coquettish meow. Little Jin, sir, where shall we go play today? As soon as he saw the adorable, fluffy creature, Luo Jin instantly forgot everything. He picked up Zhao Hai and rubbed his face against it repeatedly. Adorable Zhao Hai, shall we go on a picnic today? You can invite your little animal friends. Watching his younger brother and the cat get along so harmoniously, a smile flickered in Tang Ruo's eyes. If you're going on a picnic, take this. Hearing that Luo Jin was going on a picnic, he immediately used his points to exchange for everything needed for the picnic. Sandwiches, biscuits, and a variety of fruits were all packed into a large basket that Luo Jin simply couldn't carry. Seeing this scene, Zhao Hai meowed. Following Zhao Hai's sound, a tiger leaped out from the bushes behind them. It steadied itself beside Luo Jin, actively bit onto that basket. Logically speaking, such a huge tiger should be frightening, but its cautious manner, eyes wide open, head tilted looking at Luo Jin really couldn't hold back. Reached out and hugged one of the tiger's paws. Big kitty, I plan to call you Zhao Bai. Zhao Bai blinked, then put down the basket in its mouth. It carefully bit onto Luo Jin's collar, then threw him onto its own back. After confirming Luo Jin was seated properly on its back, it bit onto that basket again. Luo Jin stroked the soft fur beneath his hand. Riding a tiger is a novel experience, shouted with an excited face, Zhao Hai. You come up too. Zhao Hai nimbly jumped onto the tiger's back, obediently laid down in Luo Jin's arms. Zhao Jin-sama, where are we going next? Let's go to yesterday's riverside. I like there. As soon as the words fell, Zhao Bai started walking towards the riverside. Arrived at the riverside, two eagles flew over, brought Luo Jin down. On the tiger's back, there were also a few sparrows. Took out the picnic blanket from the basket and spread it out, looking at the little squirrel that popped out from who knows where beside him. Little white rabbit. Luo Jin's breathing paused for a moment, forcibly held back the urge to scream. He was surrounded by fluffiness. Luo Jin looked at the small animals around him. He thought for a moment and tapped on his wrist. Let's watch cartoons together. This was something he had only discovered yesterday. The watch also had the function of projecting a screen in the air to play videos. He casually pulled up a video, holding the kitten in one arm and stroking the big tiger with the other, watching the cartoon with great delight. The age of his body seemed to be gradually affecting Luo Jin's state of mind. It was the rabbit's wooden house. The rabbit woke up. The players no longer had to remain quiet. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Li Xia was being held by her boyfriend. Although her fever had subsided, she still didn't feel well. But at least she could breathe deeply now. The rabbit seemed much more normal now. Like an ordinary little white rabbit, it hopped around on the bed. Today's task is the same as yesterday's. You said you would take turns performing tasks, right? He glanced at Zhao Zh, who had completed the task last night. Then his gaze fell on a very arrogant Qi Yi. I respect your choice, Then it's your turn today. He had seen it all through Zhao Hai's eyes. This person even tried to kick Zhao Hai yesterday, although he didn't succeed. But it's still so envy-inducing. Zhao Hai was actually adopted by Lord Zhao Jin, and was given such a nice name, Zhao Hai. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. But the rabbit maintained a calm facade on the surface. Its three-lip mouth parted slightly. Besides finding food and water, I also need you to find the tree. There are so many trees in this forest. How am I supposed to know which one you want? Qi Yi had started getting restless as soon as the rabbit told him he was on duty today. He could no longer sit still. The moment he heard there was an additional task, his face immediately fell. The rabbit's words were abruptly interrupted. He fell silent, as if Qi Yi only then realized something. A pair of eyes unable to hide the Peking opera air expression. The rabbit straightened its posture, looking down from the bed at the speaking Qi Yi below. A pair of eyes, black, tinged with red. You cannot interrupt the rabbit when it is speaking. The rabbit is angry. The entire wooden cabin began to flicker with the dangerous red light. Qi Yi could no longer maintain his arrogant demeanor. The entire person fell to the ground, scrambling backwards on all fours, his voice trembling uncontrollably. I'm sorry. The rabbit's gaze was as cold as looking at a dead person, making Qi Yi wish he could hide under the sofa. Only then did it withdraw its gaze. The flickering red light inside the wooden cabin also stopped. The players finally dared to breathe. The rabbit sat back down on the bed, as if nothing had happened. Oh, sorry. I lost my composure. Its gaze swept over everyone present, seeing that everyone was trembling with fear. Only then did it say with satisfaction, find the tree and then destroy it. This is your second task. At the same time as the rabbit finished saying these words, red text appeared on the players' game panels. Find the tree and destroy it. Countdown, 7 days. Qi Yi had always been arrogant. He disdained to ask Zhao Zh where he found water and food yesterday. He believed that if that waste Zhao Zh could do it, he could do even better. Biao Zi coldly watched Qi Yi leave, silently cursing in his heart. Hopefully, he'll fall into the river and can't climb back out. The forest during the day, compared to the night, looked much more normal. And Qi Yi was also an experienced player who had been through several instances. After experiencing everything from yesterday, he had already keenly sensed the core of this instance. That was animals. Not knowing how long he had walked, at the end of the path, he finally saw a bright light. The air between his nostrils also became moist. Qi Yi's heart leaped with joy. Knowing he had reached the vicinity of a water source, he eagerly ran forward a few steps. The bright light instantly flooded Qi Yi's vision. What sounded in his ears was not just the murmuring sound of flowing water, but also the somewhat comical sound effects of a cartoon. A cartoon? Qi Yi was astonished. Where did cartoon sound effects come from in this remote wilderness? Looking closely, at a spot not far from the riverbank, a semi-transparent fluorescent screen, playing the Catching the Mouse. Qi Yi was stunned. A sudden tiger's roar interrupted his thoughts. He was so frightened he nearly fell to the ground. He looked down at the screen, only to see countless pairs of eyes staring at him. Not just tigers, but also black cats, squirrels, rabbits, and one bird after another. Countless small animals, clustering around a child with exquisite features. The child and the small animals seemed to be having a tea party. In theory, it should be an extremely warm and dreamy scene. But it scared Qi Yi so much that cold sweat broke out layer by layer. The small animals stared fixedly at him. Their gaze was as if they were pondering whether this piece of rotten meat in front of them was even worth taking a bite of. And here, Qi Yi wiped the cold sweat from his face. His gaze lingered on the killed surrounded by the small animals. The child is holding a black cat. At this moment, it is also looking at him. But that pair of eyes is much more reassuring than those of the animals. Obviously, he didn't recognize him either. This is the child who was sitting on the bullhead boss's shoulder yesterday. The only one present who seems capable of communication appears to be this child. He tried hard to keep his voice calm. That child. I've come to fetch some water, Luo Jin. Looking at the man whose entrance was quite similar to last night's, Zhao Zh. There wasn't much emotion in his eyes. He could easily see the fear hidden beneath the other party's forced calm exterior, and that trace of disgust. For such a person, he has always been unwilling to get close, unwilling to take the initiative to approach. But he also doesn't spell things out clearly. He indifferently withdrew his gaze. Take it as you please. As Luo Jin's gaze shifted, those little animals staring at Qi Yi also stopped looking at him. Qi Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief. He was trembling with fear. Walked to a place further away from Luo Jin. Fetching water was different from Zhao Zh. Zhao's gourd and backpack were rewards from the last instance. Now, if Qi Yi wanted to fetch water, he could only exchange points for the corresponding items. Going to spend points again. Qi Yi's face became somewhat unpleasant, just as he was thinking about what would be more cost-effective to exchange for. His peripheral vision suddenly saw the basket placed beside Luo Jin. The lid of the basket was half closed, but he could still tell from the other half that it was filled to the brim with food. In Qi Yi's heart, some dark thoughts involuntarily sprouted. He used 5 points to exchange for a water bottle, moved close to the river to fetch water. Seemingly unintentionally, his hand slipped. The water bottle fell into the water and floated away. Qi Yi anxiously chased after it, and its direction brought him closer and closer to Luo Jin, apart from a few small birds, casting curious glances in his direction. The attention of the other animals and Luo Jin remained fixed on the cartoon in the air. On the surface, it appears so. But actually Luo Jin had already done so when the water bottle fell into the water. He was covertly observing the other party. He discovered that this man who had suddenly appeared before him, the emotions he was radiating had changed. From the initial caution and fear, they had turned into greed and calculation. Luo Jin did not move. He wanted to see just what this man intended to do. Under the watchful, predatory gaze of the little white tiger beside him, he still dared to entertain crooked ideas. This man truly was a bold fellow. Just like that, Qi Yi approached the side of the basket. His crooked idea had just surfaced. A roar sounded. Zhao Bai roared in the direction of Qi Yi. Instantly, countless pairs of animal eyes from the surroundings locked onto Qi Yi, and Qi Yi's hand was already pressed upon the sandwich outside the basket. After being discovered, fear sets in belatedly, and then comes the realization. Qi Yi tucked the sandwich into his embrace and bolted. But no matter how fast he ran, how could he outrun the little animals? Zhao Bai leaped and bit his arm in one swift motion. The sharp teeth on his arm left a row of bloody holes. Qi Yi let out an extremely piercing and miserable scream. His entire body couldn't stop struggling, writhing and flailing on the ground. But no matter how much he thrashed, Zhao Bai never loosened his grip. The sudden change startled the surrounding little animals into a clamor. One by one, they hopped and jumped, retreating to Luo Jin's side. Although these little animals looked frightened, they huddled closely against Luo Jin, their eyes fixed intently on Qi Yi, who was being bitten by Zhao Bai. Their gazes were as cold as if they carried the weight of 20 lives. Not only holding the little black cat, he had always been more aloof than others since childhood, but his acting skills were top-notch. He genuinely acted like a 3-year-old child, fear showing in his eyes, casually scooping up a few little animals and holding them tightly in his arms. It was absolutely not an attempt to take advantage of the little animals. Seeing Luo Jin frightened, all the little animals looked at Qi Yi with eyes that seemed to carry hatred. Qi Yi, bitten by Zhao Bai, screamed even more miserably. Amid his struggles, He turned his gaze toward the seemingly only one he could communicate with. "Little brother Luo Jin. Quick, save me." He was saying words of pleading for help. But Luo Jin saw it clearly. His heart was full of disgust and fear. Luo Jin seemed to be frightened, standing up and stepping back violently. The more obvious his fearful attitude was, the harder Zhao Bai bit. Qi Yi let out another miserable scream. The pain turned the pleas in his mouth into vicious curses. Zhao Bai didn't let him finish cursing, bit his shoulder and threw him. Qi Yi was thrown into the river. The river in the locust forest wasn't as calm as it looked. Especially when facing players, the water flow seemed to have life, rapidly flowing, making intense gurgling sounds. As soon as Qi Yi's body approached the water surface, it was immediately swallowed by the splashes. In just a few minutes, the surrounding environment returned to its previous calm state. As if nothing had happened, Luo Jin was stunned for a moment. In that instant, he seemed to feel that everything around him was silently trying to please him. It was a very strange and wondrous feeling. Zhao Bai obediently walked to the water's edge, washed his blood-stained face clean, then returned to Luo Jin's side, obediently lying on his side, letting Luo Jin use him as a backrest. Luo Jin continued to focus his attention on the cartoon. He took a can of milk out of the basket. He is still a child who is growing. But at this moment, Qi Yi's mood was not so good. He drifted down the river, dizzy and blurry-eyed, could only barely maintain a sliver of consciousness. The blood on his body hadn't stopped yet. If this continues, he will really die. This thought kept flashing in Qi Yi's head. He struggled frantically. At the last second, before he was about to drown and choke to death, a large hand grabbed his foot and lifted him out of the water. Although he had only been drifting in the water for less than 20 minutes, it felt as if a century had passed. Greedily gasping for the long-lost fresh air, then he struggled to open his eyes, wanting to see who had saved him. When he finally saw what was in front of him clearly, instantly, his whole body turned cold from head to toe. What was before his eyes now was exactly that NPC he had seen yesterday, that 3-meter-tall Minotaur club. Those bright eyes seemed stained with a bloody aura. His voice was heavy, making his heart tremble uncontrollably. He could feel that gaze falling on his injured arm. I saw. It was this hand that wanted to bully Zhao Jin, right? Qi Yi only saw a flash of silver light before his eyes. A giant axe was raised high by the Minotaur in front of him. The moment the axe fell, before the pain came the bone-chilling coldness. It spread from the shoulder all the way to the heart. Then came the intense pain. When the pain reaches its peak, you can't even scream. Qi Yi opened his mouth. Only a faint sound could escape from his throat. In Tang Ruo's eyes, Qi Yi was like trash, casually thrown to the ground. His arm had already been severed from his shoulder. Only when it hit the ground did he finally let out a scream. Tang Ruo didn't even bother to give him another glance. Get lost before my mood gets worse. Even though Qi Yi had lost his arm, even though he was still bleeding profusely, the moment he heard Tang Ruo's words, his survival instinct made him react. He staggered to his feet. Qi Yi had no idea where he was now. He randomly picked a direction and stumbled forward. He didn't even have time to care about the arm left behind. As he was leaving, he accidentally caught a glimpse of a tree. That tree was very conspicuous, very special. Qi Yi didn't know where he was now. He could only run with all his might, till he could no longer catch his breath. Did he finally dare to stop? He immediately opened the system shop to exchange for medicine that could stop the bleeding. At this moment, he no longer cared about how many points he had left. He exchanged for a large amount of bandages and painkillers. Losing his arm made him feel immense grief. After bandaging the wound, his eyes grew shadowy. They all deserved to die. After all this turmoil, He was no longer sure how much time had passed. Opening his player panel. The countdown on the panel was almost gone. Only 4 hours remained on the countdown. Qiyi's heart was completely shrouded in panic. For a moment, all tasks were thrown to the back of his mind. He stood up and began rushing back. He didn't know where he was now, nor did he know the way back to the wooden cabin. He could only search around like a headless fly. Countdown, 3 hours, 24 minutes. The bandage on Qiyi's shoulder was thoroughly soaked with red. He gasped heavily twice. His steps faltered, but he didn't dare stop. Countdown, 2 hours, 11 minutes. Another hour had passed. Half of his body was stained red. He had to stop and change the bandage on his shoulder. Countdown, 1 hour 12 minutes. Qiyi still hadn't found the path he came from. But he didn't dare stop moving. Every minute and every second was precious. Countdown, 30 minutes. Time was almost gone. But the road ahead seemed endless. He didn't know whether he could make it back to the wooden cabin today. Countdown, 12 minutes, 11 seconds. Perhaps it was an illusion born from urgency. Qiyi felt the surrounding scenery start to become familiar. But by now, it was completely dark. Countdown 4 minutes appeared on Qiyi's face. He scrambled and ran, throwing himself towards the direction of the wooden house. He finally arrived in front of the wooden house's door. His vision was somewhat blurred by sweat and river water. He supported himself with one arm and pushed against the door with effort. But the door didn't move at all. He used all his strength to knock on the door twice. It still didn't open. Countdown, 2 minutes. A rabbit's voice came from inside the door. Time is almost up. Did you find water and food? Hearing these words, Qiyi's breath froze. He finally realized what he had overlooked. Countdown, 1 minute 30 seconds. Time completely reached the end. Qiyi began frantically banging on the door. I almost completed it. Just open the door first. Let me in. Through the door panel, the sound from inside seemed a bit muffled. But the rabbit's laughter could be clearly heard. Heh heh, if you can't complete the task, you must accept punishment. Your punishment is not being allowed to return to the wooden house tonight. Faintly, indistinctly, Qiyi was already able to perceive some rustling sounds coming from the surroundings, as if something was slowly, bit by bit, drawing closer to him. Countdown, 30 seconds. The ticking of time seemed to ring in his ears. The ticking sound in this final critical moment. He finally grasped the fleeting inspiration in his mind. I found that tree. As soon as these words were spoken, the wooden house fell silent for a second. Then the rabbit's voice came out again. So, did you destroy it? Hearing this, Qileng froze in place. The rabbit laughed again. Heh heh, it seems not. Then you need to accept punishment. The rabbit's words were like the last straw that broke the camel's back. He could let out an unwilling roar. No, you can't do this to me. That minotaur has been guarding there all along. How was I supposed to destroy it? Countdown ended. Mission failed. The players inside the wooden house, trembling, watched the wooden door being slammed loudly. Suddenly, the shaking of the wooden door stopped abruptly. The howling outside became increasingly miserable. Along with the screams, there were also more scattered, rustling noises. Faintly, it sounded like something was being gnawed on. The continuous sounds coming from outside the wooden door made the players tremble uncontrollably. No one could sleep, except for that rabbit, already sound asleep and snoring. Zhao Zh moistened his dry, cracked lips. Ever since, he was deliberately pushed out with the other players to be the first one to complete a task. He no longer gathered with the other players. Alone, he huddled in the corner of the wooden house. With his head drooping, he was already hungry when he left the last instance. Now, a burning pain spread through his stomach. He could no longer endure it. Zhao Zh glanced at the backpack on the table. Then, he quietly stood up. Afraid of drawing the attention of the sleeping rabbit, He cautiously moved all the way to the low table. From the backpack on the table, he took out 2 fruits. He didn't touch the gourd beside them. Drinking water was just too likely to make noise. After getting the food, Zhao Zh returned to the corner. He didn't know what kind of fruit he was holding, but thinking of that locust flower that had given a positive buff, he ultimately decided to take a gamble. That child, Luo Jin, who looked like an angel. If he wanted to harm him, he wouldn't have given him the flower in the first place. His teeth pierced the surface of the fruit. When a person is starving to the extreme, they can't taste anything. Zhao Zh mustered all his strength to suppress the urge to devour it ravenously. Only after finishing the entire fruit did the burning sensation in his stomach finally fade away. Belatedly, he tasted the sweetness. In the burial world, no one knows if they will even live to see tomorrow, nor do they know when their next full meal will be. That little bit of sweetness made his eyes redden involuntarily. Having watched all of Zhao's actions, the other players also gradually began to move. They imitated Zhao Zi's manner and went to take the fruit on the table. As for the water in the gourd, except for Yuan Mu, no one dared to touch it. There was no other way. Although the noise from drinking water would be a bit louder, his girlfriend Li Xia was sick and needed to replenish more fluids. Just like that, everyone muddled through until dawn, when the rabbit's voice was heard again. "All right, today's task is about to begin." The rabbit hopped and jumped on the bed, shouting at the top of its lungs to wake everyone up. The players opened their eyes one after another, but their faces all showed varying degrees of weariness. When the players' minds became a little clearer, they suddenly realized one thing. It had become quiet outside the door. After realizing this, everyone felt a wave of. The rabbit seemed to know what they were thinking. He laughed twice, its voice seeming to carry a hint of slyness. "The weather is very nice today. Should we open the door to let some air in?" No one answered it. The rabbit didn't mind. Young people these days are just shy, it muttered to itself, and for the first time, jumped off the bed, judging purely by its appearance. This rabbit was truly adorable. But this adorable rabbit hopped to the door, and after opening it, turned back to face the players inside the wooden cabin, and revealed a strange smile. "Is better. Take a look at the sunlight." Just as the rabbit said, "The weather is very good today." After the rabbit opened the door, it returned to the bed. "Young people should bathe in the sunlight. Go ahead, I allow you to enjoy 10 minutes of sunlight before doing the task." But even though the rabbit said this, no players dared to move. When they came, there were only a few small scratches on these steps. But now, the marks on the steps have become numerous and messy. Black and red marks, scratched one after another on them. Around the bloodstains, there are also scattered bits of flesh, and a trail of dragged bloodstains, extending all the way along the path deep into the forest. Such tragic traces, the players completely dare not imagine what exactly happened last night. As for Qi Yi, who has completely disappeared without a trace, no one mentioned him again, as if this person never existed. Before going out to do the task, the players need to exchange some information. The only ones who went out alone were Zhao Zh and Qi Yi, but now, Qi Yi is already dead. Zhao Zh, however, obtained food and water. Apart from asking him for advice, there is no other way. But before, everyone had some unpleasantness with Zhao Zh. No one knows how to bring it up. Yuan Mo touched Li Xia's forehead. After confirming that his girlfriend didn't have a fever, he hesitated and glanced in Zhao's direction. Li Xia tugged at his arm. Afterwards, the two moved closer to Zhao's direction. Zhao Zh had already noticed the gaze lingering on him. Only after seeing Yuan Mo and Li Xia approach, did he speak. "What's going on? Today really shouldn't be my turn to go out. Yuan Mo felt a bit awkward upon hearing this. Sorry. Zhao Zh was momentarily stunned. Yuan Mo didn't dare to meet his eyes. Reached up and rubbed the back of his own head. It's about what happened before. I'm really sorry. At the time, we didn't react, subconsciously followed our ingrained thoughts and spoke for a while. Afterwards, Zhao Zh snorted coldly. It's human nature. Yuan Mo looked even more embarrassed. I mean it. If it weren't for the food and water you found, my girlfriend might still not have her fever broken by now. Speaking of this, Li Xia also quietly thanked Zhao Zh. Zhao Zh crossed his arms and took a step back. His posture was still somewhat defensive. You're welcome. With Yuan Mo and Li Xia setting a good example, the conversation became easier to continue. Other players also gathered in this direction. They started asking questions, everyone talking at once. A girl named Hu Susu, watching Zhao's expression, she cautiously began to speak. Where did you find the water and fruit? Zhao Zh said, without looking up. Just keep walking along the road. When you reach the end, you can hear the sound of water. Turn right, and there's the river. I saw a child by the river. He told me where to find the fruit. Turn back and follow the river, then turn left. After Zhao Zh finished describing the whole experience, Hu Susu, who had asked the question, was stunned. She didn't know what to say. She looked back at this one, then at that one. At this moment, Qiao Yuan, who had been staying with Hu Susu, raised an objection. This sounds too far-fetched. How can we confirm what you're saying is true? Zhao Zh shrugged. You can choose not to believe it. Qiao Yuan was left speechless. His face stiff, and he stopped talking. All right. No arguing. We're all in the same boat. As the atmosphere began to turn sour, the thin, small man named Wang Wenhai stepped in to smooth things over. He wore a smile on his face, playing the peacemaker, coaxing one and then the other. Wang Wenhai was an even thinner and smaller man than Zhao Zh. Now is not the time for arguing. Since Zhao Zh has told us the route, we have to choose to believe him. Besides, we also need to look for that tree at the same time. Do you all remember? The tree mentioned by the rabbit earlier. Unconsciously, Wang Wenhai was already at the center of the players, but their discussion hadn't reached a conclusion yet. The rabbit, who had been watching from the sidelines all along, interrupted them with a laugh. Then today, I'll let you go out. All right, it's Pa. Pointed at Wang Wenhai, who had just been speaking eloquently. Wang Wenhai's voice abruptly stopped. He somewhat helplessly rubbed his nose. Me? Although I had already guessed this possibility. But, all right then. Wang Wenhai shrugged, and gave Zhao Zh an awkward smile. Can you lend me your backpack and gourd? Don't worry, I saw it in the mall before. These are non-transferable items. I'll return them to you very soon. After Zhao Zh and he exchanged a glance, Zhao Zh withdrew his gaze. Go ahead and use them. Wang Wenhai clasped his hands together, smiling brightly. Thank you so much. Very few people, when facing danger, can remain so composed. It must be said. Wang Wenhai's demeanor like this made the players' hearts, which had been tense all along, relax a little. Wang Wenhai, carrying the backpack and holding the gourd, prepared to go out. But just 1 second before stepping out, he suddenly remembered something and turned his head back. I suddenly remembered a very important thing. I forgot to tell you. I have a poor sense of direction. I'm very bad with directions. Can someone come out with me? Please. The other players were somewhat speechless. Why didn't you mention such an important matter earlier? Wang Wenhai let out a sigh, seeming a bit troubled. Both Susu and Qiao Yuan are girls. Yuan Mo also has to take care of his sick girlfriend. His gaze eventually fell on Zhao Zh, his eyes becoming pitiful. Zhao Zh, I can only rely on you. Zhao Zh was speechless. He knew it. Zhao Zh looked around, noticed Qiao Yuan and Hu Susu. The moment they met his gaze, they shrank back together. However, Yuan Mo hesitated for a moment. Suddenly spoke up. It's not really fair to always make Zhao Zh go out. How about I go with you? Then turned his head. Looked at Zhao Zh. Zhao Zh, could you please help me take care of Zhao Zhao? Hearing this, Zhao Zh sighed. Forget it, I'll go with him. Wang Wenhai was extremely grateful, almost knelt down to thank him. Thank you. Once we get out of this instance, let's exchange contact information. I'll send you a points red packet then. But as soon as the two stepped out, they ran into trouble. No other reason. These blood-sucking pagoda trees are really a headache. Wenhai frowned. This is bad. Do you have any that can block them? Zhao Zh shook his head. He didn't plan on telling others. That child gave him the special item. Not only for the safety of that child, also to protect himself. Zhao Zh and Wang Wenhai almost simultaneously took off their jackets, pressed against the head. Run a little faster. It will be much better when we get to the open area by the river. Zhao Zh took the initiative to run ahead and lead the way. Behind him, Wang Wenhai's gaze was locked intently on his retreating figure. Those bright eyes no longer held any gentleness at that moment, but an indescribable emotion. And the Zhao Zh leading the way in front was thinking, I don't know what happened by the river today. Can I meet that child from that day? If only I could say thank you. But he certainly want meet Luo Jin. Luo Jin went to the upper reaches of the river today, according to second brother Tang Ruo's recommendation. Upstream of the river, there is a rapeseed flower field blooming exceptionally beautifully. It is a famous check-in spot in the burial world. Yes, even in the burial mound, this life-threatening place, there are still check-in spots. There are quite a few high-level big shots. Acting as a travel blogger, while clearing the dungeon, shoot these scenic spots. Send to player forum. Relying solely on some players' tips can gain a lot of points. But these, and all the newbie players in this instance, it doesn't matter. They haven't even unlocked the player forum yet. Little Black lies on Luo Jin's shoulder. And Luo Jin laughed. He held the little Whitone by the scruff of its neck. The little hand pointed straight ahead. Zhao Bai Chong. 3 little cuties. Just like that, I plunged into that sea of flowers. Luo Jin lay in the flower field. Left side is Zhao Bai. Right side is Zhao Hai. After that, pounce just now. Luo Jin's body was covered in scattered little flowers. The fresh fragrance of flowers adorn it into a little elf. Watching those lying beside rolling in the soft flower fields, little white-covered hermit and chuckled twice. Then seized the opportunity, stuffed a small flower into Zhao Bai's ear. Zhao Bai only felt his ears itch. Stand up and shake your head vigorously. In an instant, it was as if a rain of flowers had fallen. The flowers instantly submerged Little Black. Luo Jin reached out his hand and saved Zhao Hai. Through the Little Black's limpid eyes, he saw his current appearance. Luo Jin was stunned for a moment. He has never seen it before. Your own smiling face is so radiant. The first time I knew, my own laughter could actually come from the heart. Luo Jin's hand stayed in Zhao Hai's body. Half a day without moving. Zhao Hai slightly raised his head. He touched the tip of his nose to his fingertips. Luo Jin came back to his senses. He picked up Zhao Hai in one swift motion, rubbing fiercely. Cute little Blackie. Fragrant little Blackie. The world's most adorable little kitten. Zhao Hai had a face full of question marks. Ting Ruo stood by, watching her younger brother play with the small animals. After laughing for a while, as if suddenly remembering something, he took out his phone. I took a photo of this scene in front of me. In the past, Tang Ruo's social media posts were always about cats and dogs. Very few people paid attention to him. But this time, as soon as the moment was posted, just like throwing a bigrick into stagnant water, Tang Ruo's phone rang several times in a row. After all that fuss, the dungeon pack that players are scared shitless of. So everyone has been slacking off. Lucifer replied, so cute. What do you eat every day? The system refuses to work overtime. Reply yesterday. In the system store, I saw a pink printed top. Let Zhao Jin come back and give it a try. Thorny Hedgehog replied to Little Hibiscus, looks so tiny. When he comes back, I'll make him some good food to nourish him. In the middle of the night, Themaster replied to Zhao Jin, so cute. Really want to touch. The clown is actually me. Next time my copy is a playground. Hand Little Jin over to me. Tang Ruo watched for a while. The younger brother is playing with the little animals. But in the end, is still have to work. He and Zhao Hai exchanged a look. He picked up the huge axe and stood up. Zhao Zh and Wang Wenhier still walking forward. Suddenly, Zhao Zh found the footsteps behind him had stopped. He turned around puzzled. What's wrong? Wang Wenhai tilted his head. Why are all these locust flowers avoiding you? In an instant, Zhao's blood ran cold from head to toe. In this second, he actually thinks Wang Wenhai is more frightening than the rabbit in the wooden house. Wang Wenhai walked quickly a few steps in his direction. That face suddenly moved close to Zhao's eyes. His eyes sparkled with uncontrollable excitement, as if they had discovered something incredible. You have some items specifically for this dungeon, right? You've not been through this instance for the first time, right? You lied before, right? Watching Wang Wenhai speak more and more outrageously, Zhao Zh frowned and pushed him away. What are you talking about? The excitement on Wang Wenhai's face did not diminish in the slightest. What prop is it? I have never seen such props in stores. Is it an S-grade item? Zhao's heart skipped a beat. To be honest, he don't know either. What grade of prop is that string of pagoda flowers? After that, he rummaged through the store. Don't even mention the same thing. Not even the Sam type can be found. It was that moment of hesitation from him. Wenhai's thinking diverged even further. Is S-class? I have never seen an S-class item before. Can let me see. Look. Zhao Zh is starting to feel that something is wrong. He stood a little further away. Not an S-class item. What are you so excited about? Hearing this, Wenhai's expression became a bit more restrained. He coughed lightly twice, continuing to say, it's not like I haven't seen it before. A bit excited, Zhao Zh noticed that the person in front of him wasn't quite right. I'm not planning to waste words on him anymore. Turned his head and was about to go back. Just ahead is the riverside. You probably don't need me to lead the way anymore. As a result, he just turned around. Wang Wenhai grabbed his arm. Wait a minute. Can you lend me that prop before you leave? He says he's borrowing it. But Zhao Zh can tell. He simply doesn't intend to pay it back. After all, following the customs of the burial grounds, S-grade items are all subject to being snatched. He mercilessly shook off Wang Wenhai's hand. I must use it even if I cannot. And then he turned his head and coldly stared back at Wang Wenhai. This is a single-use item. Wang Wenhai doesn't believe it at all. S-level items are very rare. And what Zhao Zh said about single-use props, he is unheard of. But even if Wang Wenhai doesn't believe it, Zhao Zh also did not lie. This was when he later looked back at the introduction of that locust flower prop. What was discovered stranger was, the D-grade props in the burial earth world are purple. A-grade props are blue. B-level items are green. A-level is yellow. S-level is white. Then what the hell is this golden star rated item? And it's a single-use item. This is the first time I've heard of this. Non-transferable. Props can be lent to others. But this single-use item, it sounds like you're bound only to him. But no matter what, he does not intend to deal with Wang Wenhai anymore. Continue to pester. He turned and walked away. Wang Wenhai is as persistent as a dogskin plaster. Seeing him about to leave, both hands pressed up. Zhao Zh, don't be like this. Heartless. Before you leave, lend me the props first. Zhao Zh took the trouble. I simply want to rush towards this seemingly friendly face. Bang bang twice. The two of them entangled right there for 10 minutes like that. Zhao Zh ultimately broke down, directly smashed that small flower onto Wang Wenhai's face. Give, Len. You. Anyway, it's a single-player item now. I believe even if I lend it to Wang Wenhai, he wouldn't be able to use it. Perhaps after he sees it, he will give up. The little flower smashed onto Wenhai's face. He quickly reassured his hand to take it. But the palm had just to shed the petal. In an instant, just let out a sudden scream. As if what I got, it's not the special Profi had been dreaming of, but a hot potato. His hand was scalded and immediately blistered. Subconsciously, I threw it out. The flower drifted and floated back into Zhao's palm, as if having autonomous concessions. This bizarre scene also made Xia Zh freeze for a moment. Looking at Wang Wenhai's panicked and flustered appearance, Zhao Zh grabbed the opportunity and quickly made a run for it. By the time Wang Wenhai finally came to his senses, the person before me had long since vanished without a trace. Zhao Zh returned to the cabin alone. His expression doesn't look very good. Everyone cast a different gaze at him. Zhao Zh sat back down in the corner. He hesitated for a moment, still decided to reveal Wang Wenhai's true face, tell others. But even if he said everything that had just happened, but Wenhai's initial good guy image, set up perfectly, especially those who had minor conflicts with Zhao Zh before. Hu Susu and Qiao Yuan. Two girls. Although nothing was said, but a visible doubt floated on his face. On the contrary, Yuan Mo, who thought he could exchange a few words with Zhao Zh, opened my mouth. But isn't your prop non-transferable? Zhao Zh was silent for 1 second. In the end, the truth was told. It is a special item. Previously, from that child NPC. Obtained from there. I said it's non-transferable. But he didn't believe it. After all, even if he hides it now, wait until Wang Wenhai comes back. It will definitely become known to everyone. Hearing his words, the other players' all lit up. Props or special props. You should know that even a D-grade item. In the mall, that hour requires 500 points. Every time it goes on sale, it's not certain you'll be able to grab one. So the child you were talking about. Do NPCs have a chance to drop items? Not only responsible for giving directions. There are actually item drops. This is the first time I've heard of such an NPC existing. For a moment, everyone began discussing the appearance of the new NPC. Wang Wenhai's matter was instead completely ignored. At this moment, Li Xia, who is relatively introverted, spoke weakly. That time just now when resting, I carefully flipped through the player panel. We have discovered that we have also activated the forum feature. Once startled, it stirs up 1,000 layers of waves. All players to sitly append the player forum, Burial Mound World's forum, similar to forums in the real world. And in the forum, there are also people posting guides, but because every match more or less has some changes, therefore, the reference value of the guide is not high. Some players are passionate about collecting items. Some players are passionate about checking in at scenic spots. And there are still some players happy to dance back and forth in the boss's bottom line. There are also statistics on variant sex, big or small in the dungeon. Li Xia clicked on the post about counting NPCs. The first one introduced. That is the bull-headed giant they had seen. The bull-headed man stands a full 3.2 meters tall. The original poster had close contact with. To measure the specific numerical value, still wasted a D-grade item. Li Xia also discovered. According to feedback from other players in the post, it is said that the Minotaur's personality is a bit slow-witted. Occasionally, players still get tricked around in circles. He kept scrolling the post all the way to the end. No information about the killed mentioned by Zhao Zh has been found. But inside the wooden hut, none of the other players doubted what Zhao Zh said. Because just now, someone recalled. The first time I met the boss, the child sitting on the other person's shoulder. That is to say, the one you encountered might be a hidden NPC. Hu Susu covered Hermith in surprise, looked at Zhao Zhang. Hidden NPCs usually refer to those in dungeons, those NPCs that have never been encountered by players. Attributes have good and bad. But generally, the first time meeting someone will trigger special events, or special items and the like. This time, the origin of the special prop in Zhao's hands makes sense now. Also, for Wang Wenhai wanting to snatch the prop, this point added some credibility. The other side, Wang Wenhai and Zhao parted on bad terms. There has always been a bad premonition in my heart. Of course, he is not directionally challenged. Even memory and sense of direction are extremely strong. But there are no other choices at the moment. Can follow the direction given by Zhao Zh and move forward. When its abuto come to an end. The sound of the river flowing is indeed clearly audible in my ears. He looked to the left. Decided to go pick fruit first. Come back later to get water. Who knows if the child NPC Thatsio Zh mentioned is there or not. In case of any accidents, the situation is not good. The facts prove. Zhao Zh said all the truth. Soon, he saw that fruit tree. He packed a backpack full of fruits, then returned to the riverside. Carefully parting the bushes, the line of sight turns towards the riverside. As a result, the grassland by the river is empty and deserted. The anticipation in my heart instantly turned to disappointment. Wang Wenhai was even a bit angry. He walked a few steps to the riverside, filling water on one side, while my gaze wanders around. Get ready to look around the area later. Is there any clue about the tree? The result was right after he finished installing it. The moment the water rises, the moss underfoot causes him to lose his balance, fell into the river in one go. In the panic, he only had time to clutch his backpack and gored tightly. Obviously, even in a rushed and chaotic situation, he still maintains his sanity. The state of the body Unibledo find a foothold in the river. It lasted for about 10 minutes. Wang Wenhai quickly noticed. I touched something. That is a protruding giant rock. Wang Wenhai seized the opportunity and clung to the stone. After a while, he struggled to stand up. He was completely drenched from head to toe. Fortunately, the backpack and the gourd were not lost. Wang Wenhai just stood up, still catching my breath, then abruptly restrained him again. Quickly, using this protruding boulder, conceal one's own figure. Because he saw the copy boss, that Minotaur giant. The giant is currently sitting under a huge walnut tree. That huge axe was placed by his side, holding the phone in hand, not knowing what they're looking at, and let out a silly laugh. Wait, mobile phone. Boss also knows how to play with phones. After playing, I was completely stunned, as if discovering a new continent.